Good morning, friends. It's Gail here at Work of Art Greeley, and we are going to make these adorable little ornaments for Easter. And what you have is a set of three, and if you had just purchased one, this video still applies. You'll just make one of the items, but we also have the set of three, which is the little bunny, the chick and the egg, and the regular egg. I also have some adorable little examples here of some other ones that were made. This little guy looks like Humpty Dumpty. This one has little swirls on it. This was used with a rolling pin. So if you have some texture at home, anything, lace, rolling pins, all kinds of things will be fun to put texture in. Same thing here. I don't know, hopefully you can focus on that. It's not wanting to focus. There we go. And we have a little one, looks like a Picasso face. Sorry about the glare, guys. I'm not sure. I am not a professional videoer here, so if you've watched my videos in the past, you know this. This one also was a rolling pin, so there's some texture on there, and then went back through and painted. So we're gonna do these today real quick here. If you bought the kit, you can buy it at our shop at 5750 West 10th Street, or you can call us at 970-673-8472. Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. So what you got in your kit was you got a plastic bag with a paper plate in it with some clay that's all covered up and sealed. You got some templates here that one is a chick with an egg, one it will be labeled ears, one is just an egg shape. It's almost an egg shape. It's more of an oval, but it also has a little line in here, a little guide that will show you, you can see that, show you to turn it into the egg. So the first thing you'll do is you'll get some scissors and you'll cut out your templates, and you'll end up with something like this. You'll have your chick with egg and your bunny face and your little ears. Okay, so first thing, after you've cut out your pieces, you can open up your clay. And it's really important that it's sat in the sealed package because we don't want any air to get in here. And your clay may be in 3 pieces like this, it may be in 2 pieces, but you will have enough to make your, oh, I'm sorry, you'll have some glazes. They may be in a strip like this, or they may be in a little palette like this, or they may be in little cups, but you will get glazes. The color wheel will apply, so red and yellow would make orange, white and red would make pink. So if you don't have all the colors you want, you will have at least the primary colors, and you can make any color that you want. You'll also have a little paintbrush and a needle tool with a wedged blunt end. You'll get a little gift card. Sorry, it's not loaded, but you're going to use it to smooth your clay. You'll get a little sponge and a cup that you'll have to fill up with some water. So those will be the tools you get. So you'll come over here, and the very first thing you'll do is you'll unpack your clay, and you'll have a slab that's about 3/16 of an inch thick. And your slab, if we just cut them out, it may be really floppy. Otherwise, it might be kind of stiff. And we want it to be a little stiff when we're working with it, so you can always just take it out of the bag and let it sit out for a little bit. All this clay is washable, so I mean, I don't want you to wash a whole big piece of clay down your sink, but if you get clay on your clothes, your hands, you'll be totally fine. So the first thing you'll do with your clay is you're going to take your credit card that you have here, your gift card, and if it doesn't seem to be gliding smooth, you can get your little sponge wet, and you can just get the edge of it wet. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to smooth out my clay, and I'm just sliding across it. And if you could see beforehand, there was texture on the clay. And what I'm doing is I'm getting rid of any of that texture, and I'm making my clay stronger. So I'm not gouging it, I'm not going in straight, I'm just smoothing across. Smooth, smooth, smooth. And once I go, if clay builds up, I'm just wiping it off. Sorry, I'm off camera. And then I'm going to come in a different direction, and I'm going to smooth, smooth, smooth. Get back on camera here, look for you there. Smooth, smooth, smooth. And it just, you'll notice it'll all of a sudden become really smooth, and you won't have any texture. I'm going to smooth, smooth, smooth. If I get it built up, just wipe it off. Again, you can use your sponge if you want. And then I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Smooth, smooth, smooth. And if you have a little fuzzy hair or something in there from your workspace, totally fine. Don't worry. It will burn right out in the kiln. Okay, so I'm smoothing across. And this is a very important step. Please do not miss this step. We're compressing our clay. We're making it nice and strong. Okay, so I've smoothed it in a couple different directions. I've gotten rid of any texture. Now I'm ready to get started. And I'm gonna do that with all of my pieces. Right here I have 3 pieces, and I may not need all 3 of these pieces. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with this one. And I'm gonna lay my shape down, and let's see here. You may have to finagle your shapes. I promise you, you will have enough clay for all 3 shapes. Okay, so now I have my little needle tool. I'm gonna get it damp. And I don't want it sopping wet or anything like that. I just got damp. I had a little clay on there. I'm gonna hold my template down, and I'm gonna cut around it. I'm gonna cut and wipe off any extra little clay. I'm gonna cut around the whole template here using my fingers. And it's okay, like if you want to just come off the edge like that. I'm just gonna wipe off any extra clay that builds up on there. And I'm gonna start over here and come down, pick up, wipe off. Cut off over here. It makes it easier if you just cut off and then you bring it to the shape, kind of like that. And you're going to be able to tweak these once you get them out, so don't worry. I'm going to come around here that if it's not perfect when you're cutting it. Now all this extra clay, please just set it aside, and we're going to put it in our bag at the very end. Do not wash all this clay down the sink. Do not flush it down your toilet. We do recycle it, so please just put it back in a ball and put it in your bag. So do not make anything more out of it that you would like us to fire. We price everything according to the project, so we don't fire additional pieces that you make. Okay, so now I have my little template. I have all this extra clay, which I'll make another little guy. Maybe I'll do it right now. Let's do the egg. Pull this guy off. Now you can see it's kind of rough. That's totally okay. I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to cut out my egg. And it just barely fits. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna come around. Let's get back on camera here. Come around, and I'm just gonna cut around this whole shape. And this one's actually gonna be, we're gonna do 2 of these because one's gonna be an egg and one's gonna be a bunny head. So now I have all this extra clay. Just gonna squish it together and set it aside. Okay. So now I have that. So I'm gonna grab out one more little piece of clay here. And I have my chick. I'm gonna set it aside, and my egg. I'm gonna set it aside. And now I'm gonna rib again. I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna rib my piece of clay. And make it nice. And again, if it builds up, just use your finger to wipe it off. You can use your little sponge if you want to wipe it off. Where's my little sponge? Okay, I have not gone anywhere. I've already lost it. Here's one. I've lost my tool. Okay, use your little sponge to wipe it off. Okay, I'm going to pop it over, do the other side. Now I don't want this hard. I don't want this leather hard. There's a fine line between being floppy and leather hard. We want to still have some give because we want to be able to work with it. So don't let your clay sit out uncovered overnight. When we give you the packet, you know, maybe 15 minutes to an hour, depending on how floppy your clay is, you want to still be able to make imprints in it. Okay. We don't want it rock solid, so then when you cut into it, it just it just shreds up. I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of brittle and it just falls apart. Okay, that little fingerprint in there that I made. And mine right now is about as hard as I would want it to be. Okay, all right, so now I have both sides done. I'm gonna cut out one more of these little guys. I'm just gonna come in, just make sure my needle tool is clean. You can also just get it damp. It will help glide through it. I'm gonna cut right around. I'm holding down my template. Cutting down and around. All the way around. There we go. Now I'm gonna do the little guy too, because this is gonna be my ears. Go, just cutting around the whole thing here. And you'll find one direction is easier for you to cut than the other. It's okay to take your tool out and, you know, make it easy on yourself. Don't try to make one continuous circle. Okay, now we have all of our little pieces cut out. We are ready to take our templates and set them aside. all this extra clay again, just go ahead and just scrunch it up. And you can take one of your pieces of plastic and just cover it up, seal it up, and just set it aside. Okay. And then you can continually add little pieces of clay if you need to, or you can just throw away, something like this. Okay, so this will just come back to us in your bag, and we will recycle that. It helps us keep things affordable, cost effective for everybody. So I'm gonna dip my finger in the water, and I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna smooth, and now I don't want it to be sopping wet. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna smooth all my edges with my finger. You can do this while it's sitting down flat. You can pick it up if it's not too floppy. But I just dip my finger in one time, and I don't want to make mud, so if it starts getting muddy, wipe your finger off. We want to keep these nice and stiff so they keep their shape. But I'm gonna smooth around all my edges. You can also use your sponge to do this if you want. You could take your sponge, make sure you dip it in the water, you bring it out completely so there's no water on it. You can come in and just smooth it out. Okay, so I'm going to smooth out all the rough edges. I'm going to flip it over, I'm going to smooth the other side. This is really important because anything that is sharp now, after it's fired in the kiln, will be sharp then too. We don't want your ornaments, your little bunny chicken egg, to be sharp. We want to be nice and smooth. Okay, so I've smoothed out all my edges. Let's see here. Go. Great. Got them all nice and smooth. There's one. I'm going to smooth this little guy. These are going to be our bunny ears. So just barely dipped. If you get too much water in there, just wipe off your fingers. I don't want you to keep dipping, and more water is not better. I'm just gonna, just so my finger glides around it. Again, you can use your sponge, whatever is easiest. You can switch back and forth. It's kind of what I do. And you'll have a couple chances here to smooth these out. This is just our first round, smoothing everything out, getting it ready to shape. Now, if you have something that looks like this, that I kind of cut on an angle, it's totally fine. Go back in, and if you want to cut off that little extra, go ahead. These are your pieces. There's no right or wrong. Don't worry if it looks like it was off a little bit. Just trim it up. Okay, this piece here we are going to cut in half. So I'm just going to look at it, and I'm just going to eyeball it, and I'm just going to come in here, and I'm just going to cut straight down. I'm using my finger, as you notice, to support it, because if I didn't, the clay would drag. So now I have two pieces like this, and these are going to be my ears. Now they don't quite look like ears yet. I'm going to smooth out the inside of both of them. Go. There's my finger here, and my finger on this side. Just going to smooth out that rough edge. Okay, so now we want them to look like little bunny ears, like this guy. So what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and we're going to, on our straight side, we're going to just cut off a little triangle there and down here. Just a little triangle. And if it's easier to flip it over and do it flipped over, I'll show you on this one. So we're going to, on our straight edge, we're going to come to the center. We're just going to cut a little triangle. And if it's easier to flip it around, do it that way. Come in to the center here, and so then we have more of an ear shape. We're going to come in and we're just going to smooth that again. We want to get all our pieces ready first before we start decorating. So there is one little bunny ear. And again, if you didn't cut it and it's not straight down, shoot, it's totally fine. Go back in and straighten it up. It's totally fine. Okay, it's going to smooth down my edges. All my edges. Really important, guys. Parents, if you've got little ones and they're cutting these out, you might have to go back in and do a little housekeeping for them and smooth down their pieces. This could be a great project, a mommy and me, or daddy and me, or grandma and me project, a big and littles project. Okay, so now we have two Easter bunny ears and a body. I'm just going to set those aside. Get them over here. Okay, and now we're going to come to this guy. Now this guy, you could do it like this if you want, if you like the shape, or if you notice on your template, it has a little bit more of an arch, which makes it a little bit more of a Easter egg shape instead of an oval. So you can come in and you can use this as a guide, or you could even drop it down like this, and it will make it more of an oval shape. So I'm just gonna kind of eyeball it here, and I'm just gonna, because I want to keep most of my egg, but I'm just gonna kind of draw out here what I want to do. Again, you could come in with this and that will make it, as you notice, more of like an egg shape. So you'll take your needle tool and you'll come in, and so you can see like this guy. So that's kind of the shape. It's more of an Easter egg. You come in and you can just cut away. My needle tool sticking to the piece of wood. You can cut away that extra, and then it makes it more of an egg. Put that to my side. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna smooth that little bit. If you want it to look more like an egg. See. It's not necessary, you can just use the oval too. You can eyeball it, you can, however you want to make it into more of an egg shape. Again, just smoothing all my edges down. Okay. Nice and smooth. Sorry, I keep going off camera. I'm kind of far away here. I should move my camera closer to me. Okay, here we go. It is like, well, it was 6 a.m. when I came in the studio this morning, so it'll be nice and quiet, and I can make this video for you guys. I know it's approaching Easter, so I wanted to make sure and get them done. Okay, so now we have a little egg shape. And now we're going to go on to our chick and our egg. Now this guy we cut out, and there was probably a lot of little rough edges, and that's totally fine. You're just going to go in and you're just going to smooth out, take your time, smooth out all of these little rough edges. Just going through. And it's okay if something bends. This is clay. You can push it right back in. You can change it up. Like if I decided this was too not big enough, I could come in and I could just take away some more clay if I wanted to add a little bit more of a flare. This is your little guide. These are just guides, guys. So feel free. Now, if I have like a little funny spot like this, where I can't get my finger in there, take your blunt end of your pink tool and come in and just pack that down. We don't want any really sharp, pointy pieces. Sharp, pointy pieces will break off, will have a tendency to break off. So I just took my tool and just patted it in there. Oops, sorry. Patted it in there. This is a good time you can take your paintbrush and you can also smooth that out in there. Go. So I'm just smoothing everything down. Don't need my credit card right now anymore. Get these guys out of the way. There's my little sponge. Again, I'm bringing it out. I just want it to be moist, not wet, not wringing wet. Okay, I'm just going to smooth this whole thing out. Again, up here, if you want a little bit more of a, mine's pretty good, but if you wanted to make a little bit more of a distinction, you can come in with your tool and shape it on the little chips fluff on top. Okay, I'm smoothing it all out. And this may take a little while, but enjoy the process. It's fun. It's relaxing working with clay. Get your kids off the screens. Let them have some fun. Okay, so fingers work great. And come in here. I don't want it to be like just super pointy because it will just snap right off. Okay, you can see I've smoothed everything out, kind of rounded my little tips there. Look, I can bend it out, make it really cute. Looks like it's popping right out of there. Okay, so now that we have all of our edges smoothed out, first thing I want you to do Clean up your workspace so you have a nice clean workspace. We're going to assemble this. Here, we're going to assemble our bunny. So for those of you that have taken classes here before, you know the 3 steps. We scratch, slip, and stick. Super important. If we don't do these 3 steps, your bunny ears will fall off. You're going to take your little tool, pink tool, your needle tool, that's really sharp on the end. I want you to line up where you want your bunny ears and just decide where you want them. I'm going to put my little guys. Now make sure you leave enough room for a hole. I mean, they could be, you could, get you on video here. It can be whatever kind of bunny ears you want. You could do down bunny. Oh, that's cute. You could do down bunny ears. You could do, this guy has up bunny ears. You could fold a bunny ear over. You can put one up and one down. Shoot, this is your bunny, whatever you want it to do. So I'm going to show you the straight up and down. Maybe I'll do facing down because we don't have any of those. I don't know what to do, guys. Okay, I'll go straight up and down because that's what we have. So decide where you want it. I'm just going to scratch a little line, a little guide, just like that. And the same over here. I'm just going to pick a little guide. Now I'm going to come in and I'm going to scratch, 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 scratch. And I'm making all these little lines. I'm dipping in my water and then I'm going to scratch the other direction. Dip in my water. I'm going to scratch one more. Now you can see I've scratched this up a ton. See that? It's scratched up a ton. Same on this side. I'm not just doing that. That's not going to hold your ear on. Okay, so I'm going to scratch, 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 scratch. Dip in my water. Scratch, 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 scratch. Scratch, scratch. Going all different directions. So you can see I have super scratchy, right? Okay, I'm going to do the same thing on the back side of these. I'm going to scratch, 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 scratch where I know they're sticking. Scratch, 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 scratch. Dipping in my water just so my needle tool goes through smoother so it doesn't drag too much. Now look at all that. See all that on there? I want that. I want it to be that chopped up. Come in and scratch, scratch, scratch. Think of this as like Velcro. We need to do both sides for it to stick together. Okay? Now I have both of my sides done. I'm going to take my little paintbrush, dip it in the water. I'm going to put a little bit of water, just a little. Okay. So now I have, and now if your clay is really wet, you may not need as much water, but we do need to have some water. So now we have scored and slipped, and now we're going to stick. I'm going to put it on here, and I'm going to give it a good squish. Now you can see the squish that came out the sides? That's what we want. We want that squish. So I'm going to squish it all the way on there. Don't worry about that little bit that came out. Do the same thing on this side. We want to see that slip come out. Get it wet. Get it wet. We're creating slip. I'm going to come in, put it on there. I'm going to give it a good press. Press down. And I'm bending my little ears into their flat on my surface. So now you can see there's slip that's sticking out the side. Now here's where I'm going to take my paintbrush. I'm going to make sure it's clean. I'm just going to wipe it off. I'm going to go around and I'm just going to see all that extra slip. I'm going to clean all that off. And I'm going to seal up that seam. If we leave that on there, it'll create a really weak point, and we don't want that. So there we go. Now you can also take your sponge and just create it nice, smooth little area there. Clean it up. There we go. So now we have our ears on. They're on there, and they are stuck on there. Okay, so now you're like, well, what about the back? I'm going to show you. Go through here and smooth this out one more time. Okay. So now I'm going to come in gently. I'm going to flip it over, and you're going to see I have all that stuck on the back. I want to clean up all that too. So I'm just going to come in with my paintbrush, and I'm just going to wipe all that away. Wipe it away. Come in. Wipe it away. Go. I'm just going to clean all that up. I'm going to make sure it's nice and stuck now. So I'm going to come in. I'm just going to smooth it, smooth it, smooth it. I want to make sure that seam is nice and stuck, but I don't want any goopy sticking out there. So I'm just going to come through, clean it up. Come through, clean it up. Go. Now while we're on the back side, this is a chance to go through and give it one more swipe around the edges. Now I want you, this is really important, guys, I want you to write your name, your initials, something that defines this is your bunny. We'll get 100 of these bunnies, and even though you'll know which one is yours, they'll all start to kind of look alike to us when they go in the kiln. So we want to make sure you get your pieces back. So at this time, you can either take your needle tool, you can take the back of your paintbrush. I want you to write your initials or your name. I'm just going to put work of art, W-O-A, on the back of mine. And I'm wiping it off after I do it each time because I know all those little draggies. And I'm just going to put the date. I'm going to do it 2022. And now I know that is my piece. Okay, good to go now. Okay, I'm going to flip it back over. Push my little bunny ears down. Smooth it all out. Now it is time to make my face. I am going to take the back of my brush and I'm going to make a little nose, I think right in the center here. So I'm just going to draw a nose, like a little upside down triangle. And then I'm going to do a straight line down. And then I'm going to do a line up for his face, for his smile, and an up for his smile. Just like that. Go. And then I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm going to just make some little circles for the eyes. I'm just making a little circle, and I'll do one more. And I like them kind of close together. I think they look cute close together. Now, if you had a girl, chunk of something on there. If you had a little girl bunny, you could put eyelashes on her. You could put little eyebrows if you want. Let's put some little eyebrows on this guy. Some little eyebrows. There we go. How cute is that? And now we're going to do some teeth. So I just made 3 lines, cut it across, made some teeth, and now I'm going to do some little whiskers, just like that. I'm drawing all this with the back of my brush. Now I'm going to come in, I'm going to smooth everything down a little bit, and I'm just going to come through, just smooth anything down. You may have to do this a couple times to get the depth you want, because when you smooth it down, it may smooth out your lines depending on how wet your clay is, but that's okay. I'm just smoothing it all down. Take your time. I'm gonna see how I have like some clay built up in there. I'm just gonna come back through, wipe it off. Come back through, wipe it off. And now I've got all my little lines in nice and smooth. I'm also going to do some little ears. I'm just going to follow that pattern of the ear and do it on both sides. Again, this is just a suggestion. You can decorate your bunnies however you want. You can make their faces however you want. Okay, so now I have that all done. Okay, now to put in the hole, I'm going to take my paintbrush and I'm just going to stick it in there and I'm going to wiggle it around in a circle, just like that. Don't go too far up to the top because it will crack. So we want it to be a big enough hole that we can run a string through. Okay. Start out small and you can get bigger. There we go. All right, so our bunny is done. Look at that. We're going to set it aside. Now the egg, oh my gosh, you can do so many things with this guy. I'm going to use the back of this right here. I'm going to make some checkers, I think. So I'm just going to come in. You can use anything. So many things have patterns on them. Like you could use the back of a pencil. Let's see. Like say you have a pencil. I'll show you that. We could just go in and we could just make, oh my gosh, make polka dots. Look at that. Maybe I'm just going to end up doing that. You can make polka dots. You could draw a face. We have one here that looks like a Humpty Dumpty. This one was super fun. It was a lady's face. Looks like Picasso. Is that a Picasso egg? You can make lines. Let's see if I can, now that I put all these in here, let's see if I can get some lines in. You could come through and you can take the back and you can make lines. Let's make them fun. let's just do something crazy, wild and crazy here. Here we go. Look at this. And I didn't even plan this, guys. This is just coming together. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Oh, let's do one down here. So cute. Oh my gosh. I'm going to smooth it down. Again, I'm going to flip it over and smooth it down. I'm going to write my name on the back. Make sure you have the top up. I'm going to put work, W-O-R, W-O-A for work of art. And then I'm going to put the year on here, 2022. Okay, so I know it's my piece. Put back over. If you get something that like squishes, just come back in and smooth it in. Go. So we're doing all of our decorating first while we're letting it sit up and stiffen up. Oh, I'm gonna put a little, now, okay, say you don't want to do ornaments. You could always not put a hole in it. You can get on Amazon, they have adorable little magnets. You can stick them right on there with some E6000 glue, and you can have kitchen magnets. So that's also an option. You don't have to put a hole in there if you don't want to. But I'm gonna put a hole in this guy. So I'm gonna come in with the back of my paintbrush, and I'm not going too high up, and I'm just wiggling. I don't know if you can see, I'm just wiggling around in a circle. Oh, as I wiggle, sorry, my camera is wiggling. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Just gonna press it down. Distorted my line a little bit. Just come back through, clean it up. There we go. Here we go. It's easy as that. Okay, so now I have that one. Now the chick with the egg, this little guy, I'm going to smooth it all down one more time. It's been sitting there, so it's had a chance to stiffen up a little bit. It makes it honestly easier to smooth it down and clean up when it's stiffer. Okay, so now here's our little example. And of course you can do whatever you like, but I like to take where my egg shell has cracked and draw down and draw up. And I don't like this to be an even pattern. Draw down, draw up, draw down, draw up, draw down, and draw. There we go. So now you can see all these little pieces on there. That's fine. I'll clean those up as I go through and smooth it. Just kind of wipe them away. If your clay is too wet, just leave them there until it stiffens up. Just wipe them away. You can also use the back of your needle tool. If you want to use that to go through, it will make a more defined line, a deeper line, which is I like too. There we go. Bend that out a little bit so it looks like it belongs there. Okay, and there is no right or wrong to this. So now we have that part done. I'm gonna take my paintbrush and go through and I'm just smoothing everything. Again, like I said, if it's sharp now, it'll be sharp later. So we don't want that. So again, it kind of blurs it out, but that's okay. I'm just gonna go back through, wipe away. And if you let it sit when you do this, you won't get all this extra little clay. And you can do it and then let it sit and then go back in and clean it up. There we go. Okay, now we have our egg on the bottom. Now you can decide if you want to decorate the bottom of your shell. I'm gonna just make some little swirls. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Or you can leave it plain. Just come in here, make some swirls. Maybe one right here. Let's do right here. Here we go. Okay, made some little swirls. Now, time for the face. Again, we're gonna do a little, right in the center, we're gonna do a little upside down triangle. Again, if you get that extra clay, don't worry about it. If your clay is too wet right now, just leave it and you'll come back in and clean it up when it dries up a little bit. I'm gonna take the back of my paintbrush, and I like my little eyes to be pretty close together. And I'm not pushing all the way through. I am just putting on the surface and making little circles. Hopefully you can see that. I'll try to just make it. I'm starting with a little dot and I'm making it a little bigger, just like that. If your clay is too wet, just leave it. Don't try to clean it up right now. You can just leave it until it stiffens up. Okay. Once it stiffens up, you can go back through. You can clean anything up. Want to put your hole in the center up here. Come in. Make sure that you don't put it, if you cut this too close, make sure you don't put it where it's gonna snap off. So I have it right about there. Come in and I'm just making a circle. Oh, it shakes the camera. Sorry, guys. And parents, you might want to do this part just so that it does require a little bit of, depending on how stiff your clay is. Do not do this right now if your clay is like super wet. Okay, there we go. Got our 3 little guys all ready to glaze. So go ahead and check our next video for how to glaze. Thanks, friends, and don't forget to paint, play, and create. And check out video number 2 for glazing.